Well, happy Saturday, folks. The real Captain Kirk here. We're live from One Bethlehem Plaza here in downtown Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Here a little late this evening here again when the cutie sees the forecast of the beach is 81 plus degrees Fahrenheit on the 360 app. Guess where we're going to go? So we went sea glass hunting here in Long Branch, New Jersey here on a beautiful day. Water was frigid, 44, but 81. So again, beach day on March 29th. Can't beat that. Again, you can see this big Bermuda high anchored out again, just pretty much right over Bermuda, but it created 80s just south of New York City, but 20s in New England. So we had about a 60-degree spread over just a couple hundred miles here in the Northeast. So it's crazy cold in New England and summer here down toward Weather Trends 360. Look at drought status here again as of today here. We'd peaked about 88% back in November, and now we've down about 67%. We do think this is going to uptick again. It's going to spread west. We see that kind of spreading west, north, and eventually maybe back in New England here. But again, average this time of year would be about 48% of the country in dry to drought phases. So we're definitely concerned more about drought and fires and hurricanes to some extent. But the drought and fires for sure is the kind of the big theme here in 2025. Pollen maybe in those hot, dry areas in the south and southeast. Again, the pollen stays in the air longer, and you and I are suffering more. So tons of suffering areas there in the southwest, southeast with the sky-high pollen here. So where it's rainy, again, cooler, it tends to wash out the pollen, and we don't suffer as much. So check out pollen.com. We support them with year-ahead content. Look at wildfires. It's a little misleading here because last year we had the big Texas Smokehouse fire, which was epic, 1.6 million acres burned. Last year, so only about 396,000 acres burned this year, but it's burning obviously in Southern California earlier this year, Carolinas, even New England and New York City, Long Island areas, Central Plains. So again, it's been a lot more widespread this year. We do think this will be a theme as we go through 2025. So as of right now, we're about 27% below average, but again, where it's been burning has obviously had a huge impact here in 2025. Versus 2024 last year, which was just western Texas. Looking at the equatorial Pacific Ocean here, so we were in a La Nina. It's pretty much over. We're starting to see a sign that we're back into a kind of a neutral phase, and the models here left. Some models say we'll stay in neutral, and other models say we may actually inch up toward a weak El Nino as we go toward winter. We're actually inclined to lean a little toward the weak El Nino. If you look at these subsurfaces, now this is looking at equatorial Pacific from Australia at Ecuador, but if we look at here in the eastern Pacific below the water, now this is going down hundreds of feet, we see this warming again off of California, southern Mexico, Ecuador, and that's bubbling to the surface. So this suggests that we could actually see kind of a weakish El Nino in the late this year, more toward winter, but neutral to El Nino is kind of the theme. We look at the severe weather outlook here in this past week here. We took a little bit of a break here, only 11 tornadoes. Hail was big, up about 149 cases, and wind only 57. So tornadoes now, they're more than last year, about 296. Hail is less than last year, but we had a little bit of an uptick here this week. And wind cases are actually the most in 8 years. Here this weekend, again, we're looking at a lot of activity here. When you got cold weather to the west and warm to the east, you're going to have a battleground in the middle, and that's what we have here. So definitely looking at slight to enhanced areas of severe weather here this weekend and continuing along the east coast into Monday. And then later this week, that'll shift back into the central U.S. Again, we can see the 14-day outlook here again. So storm tracks and high temperatures here. So several systems, and it gets cold again in the west, cold and snowy in the west, and that will... anytime you have cold weather to the west and warmer to the east, you're going to have a battleground somewhere in the middle. So Texas to Ohio areas are definitely going to be the threat for severe weather here over the next a week to 10 days. If we look at last week, world summary here, ending here tonight, 29th of March. Here in the U.S. was warm, 7.6 warmer than last year, warmest in 13 years, fourth warmest in 40 years, so much above average national temperatures. 46% drier than last year, driest in 18th driest in 40 years, so below average on that front. And snowfall also the least in 3 years and below average. So warm, dry, no snow is actually very good typically for spring seasonal sales. The only problem here is this was Easter week last year, so we've shifted Easter out of late March and shifted it into middle April, so we're losing all those Easter sales here this week. So it was a good week, but again, not so because we lost the Easter week. And again, consumers are still getting those February utility bills, which are pretty high, 25 to 75% higher than the year before. So impacting discretionary spending here in March. So some good news here, but again, some bad news by shifting some holidays and just higher inflationary pressures. We look at this week here again, 30 March through 5 April here. We can see that cold weather hitting the west and spreading east, the warm, but again, this will be cooling as we go through the week here. So it's still 3.6 warmer nationally than last year, warmest in 10 years, 7th warmest in 40 years, tale of two halves, cold west, warm east. Snowfall again down, at least in 3. We're stop talking snow here pretty soon as we get into April, but it precip 46% wetter than last year. Number one most. We'll see. This is a big uptick here, so might be overdoing this a bit with this 5-inch band from Texas to Ohio, but again, that will be the zone for severe weather here this week. Look at the 6-day snowfall trends here. Again, we'll see again some light snow in the Rockies, a little bit in New England. Again, with that 20s up there again versus 80s down here. See a bigger storm going through Sunday in the upper Midwest, and then another system here Tuesday, Wednesday with another round of heavy snow for the northern plains, upper Midwest. So, and then again fizzling a bit Thursday. Aggregating the 6-day trends here again, so through the 3rd of April, 54% more snow than last year, 11th most in 40 years, above average. Snow for 27% of us across the U.S. So snowy in the west, the northern tier of the country, even though it's spring. Next week, again, second week here of April, ending the 12th, 1.5 warmer. Again, look at the dramatic change here. Going from winter back to spring, late, even summer-like conditions here for the western half of the country. And the northeast is the region to see a big cool down here into next week. But still, nationally, warmest in 4 years, 4th warmest in 40 years. So very warm with that weather in the west. Snowfall again down, and rainfall again a little bit less. So the severe weather may shift more toward Texas, Oklahoma, more southern plains, deep south, south central than where it's been here this coming week. If we just aggregate these two world trends here again through the 12th, again, theme across Canada is cold, maybe cooling trend generally for the northeast, Great Lakes. Warm in Europe, again, just not as warm as it was last year. So it's mild, but it's much, much colder than Europe than it was a year ago. And again, aggregating the precip trends here, you see that conveyor belt of rain from Texas to the Ohio Valley. And again, wintry in the mountains of the west here for at least the first part of this week. And pretty wet down in Brazil. They'll take it with their crops in the ground here. So better news for some crops, corn, soy in Brazil. Coffee areas in the east of Brazil still getting some drier conditions, which is also kind of a sugarcane area. So some concern there for those crops that are already sky-high prices for coffee. So folks, have a great week ahead, and we will be back here again this time next week.